There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. This is a case that has touched the hearts of so many Americans, because to be gunned down on the streets on the nation's holiday is an outrage.
That was U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, on the charges that the Justice Department is seeking against the suspect, the Afghan national accused of shooting 2 National Guard members on Thanksgiving Eve in Washington, D.C. Joining me now with more is Acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba. Alina, it's good to have you this morning. Thank you for being here. You know, we would hope that we're talking about different things, but unfortunately we're not. We heard from Jeanine Pirro, U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. We also heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi saying she's urging prosecutors to seek the death penalty here. Many people are wondering what justice in a case like this will look like.
It will be swift and heavy, and I can tell you that the U.S. Attorney in D.C., Jeanine, is just tremendous. She will have no mercy, as she should not, on something like this. This is an absolute failure of the prior administration, as we know, that has allowed open borders, and we've seen time and time again protesters coming out for what? This is a crime that should not have happened. It was avoidable, and that is why this administration is so focused on, number one, getting illegals out, number two, getting people that were brought in that want to commit crime, that are not Americans, get out of our country. We don't want you here. If you don't love this country, we have no patience or time for you, and we will bring the law down when you hurt our patriots. And that is what happened here. This woman's life was taken too soon. And I know that Jeanine's just going to be tremendous. When she prosecutes this case, she will do justice by that family.
There are a lot of questions today about what we know about the suspect, what his ties were to the United States. We understand that he was working with the CIA in Afghanistan. I bring up again that image of folks clinging to airplanes as this chaotic withdrawal under President Biden was being carried out. Everybody was displaced everywhere, concerned about the Taliban coming in and the dangers that were lying ahead on the ground. But we didn't really think about the danger of bringing 80 to 100,000 people that we hadn't vetted properly into this country. And so if you were just able to say, well, I worked with the CIA and I was trying to help the Americans, you were brought over here. But we don't necessarily know that that was true.
I think what you're implying is that there was a stringent vetting process under the prior administration, and that in itself is flawed. There was no process. We were allowing open borders. We were allowing criminals to come into our country, and then there were individuals that were saying that this should be a safe harbor, a safe haven. Why? America is America because we protect our own. We don't allow this to happen. So when you say we, I want to be very clear. It is not a we. It is not the Trump administration. It was not Trump 1, and it is most certainly not Trump administration that is currently happening. It was the Biden administration that allowed this individual in, that didn't properly vet them, and now an individual who stepped in for someone on Thanksgiving so they could go home, who got sworn in the day prior, is now dead. A 20-year-old is dead. And that is why we fight so hard every day at this Department of Justice. That is why this Trump administration is completely focused on making our streets safer, so that crimes like this, that had no vetting, should never happen. Never happen again.
Yeah, I appreciate you making that distinction, previous administration versus what we're dealing with now. President Trump is actually just trying to do his best to clean up this entire mess and keep Americans safe. It's something that America voted for. Immigration, open borders were a top issue along with the economy. Alina, I want to switch gears and talk about the auto pen. President Trump wants to take Joe Biden to task on this and his administration as well. He says the auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful, resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. And the president wants to void all documents that were allegedly signed by Biden's auto pen.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. The president is 100% right. I can tell you right now, as somebody who worked in the West Wing, as somebody who worked with President Trump, that man is signing everything with intent, with knowledge, and with his own ink to paper. We do not use the auto pen for executive orders. The president knows what he is doing. Now, go back to President Biden. Who knows? I don't think he knew what he was doing, but I will tell you what, the people around him most certainly did, and they were not elected into office, and they did not have the right to sign documents. The auto pen issue is not a joke. The lack of intent to sign a document, but then to affect millions and millions of Americans who voted for someone but was controlled by whomever was controlling it, and we will get to the bottom of that, should be held accountable, because it is not the way our government works. President Trump goes to work every day. There are cameras there watching him. He is signing every executive order himself with intent and direction, and he does so properly. Yeah. It was improper, and I do think he is absolutely right. We need to clean up the mess that he created or the people around him.
Acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, thank you so much for being here. Great to see you this morning.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.